Conor McGregor has made headlines for his exploits both inside and outside the ring, although some of these headlines have been less than favorable. The Irish martial artist was accused of assaulting a woman on his boat last year. But how true is this? McGregor has denied the allegation. According to the Spanish newspaper Ultima Hora, Ibzan authorities have launched an investigation in response to the woman's allegations. Karen Kessler, the UFC star's spokesperson, responded by saying, "Mr. McGregor is steadfast in his denial of all the accusations made by a guest on his boat." The incident is said to have occurred in July of last year, shortly after the UFC fighter celebrated his 34th birthday in Ibiza. The report claims an unidentified woman was invited to the VIP section of Conor's houseboat, after Conor identified her as somebody he knew from his hometown of Dublin. The woman told reporters that the MMA pro punched her in the stomach and chin the next morning and threatened to drown her. According to the victim, McGregor provoked her to jump into the sea. She was later picked up by a Red Cross rescue boat. The Irish boxer has not been charged yet. But this isn't the first time he's been accused of something like this. Want to know the other allegations to his name? Conor has faced multiple claims of assault and harassment over the years. The Irishman has not been charged with the crime. But the allegation has certainly added a new chapter to the colorful and often controversial story of the MMA fighter's life. In 2019, he was arrested in Miami for strong-armed robbery and criminal mischief, after allegedly breaking a fan's phone. But the 34-year-old later settled the case. Shocking, isn't it? And there's more. He was involved in an incident at a bar in Dublin in 2018 where he allegedly punched a man. But the case was later dropped because there wasn't enough evidence. Or maybe due to an abundance of power? There have also been many reports of McGregor engaging in disorderly conduct and making offensive comments to women, although he hasn't been charged in relation to these allegations. But they've certainly raised eyebrows and called his public image into question. That doesn't mean Conor has gotten away scot-free for every action. The mixed martial artist has been charged with reckless driving multiple times. In November 2020, a video of him speeding down a Dublin highway on a motorbike surfaced. The video caused widespread concern and criticism, and the boxer was charged with reckless driving. According to news reports, the Dublin native was seen reaching speeds of over 150 kilometers per hour on the busy road, and was later pulled over by Irish police, who issued him with a summons for the charge. The incident was widely covered in the media and landed him in hot water. Some of his fans even urged him to take more responsibility for his actions on the road. But has he taken any accountability? Conor apologized for rash driving on the road. At the time, McGregor issued a statement apologizing for his behavior. He acknowledged that he had put himself and others at risk. The 34-year-old also expressed regret for his actions and said that he would take the necessary steps to ensure that it does not happen again. Well, reckless driving is a serious charge and can result in severe consequences, including fines, imprisonment, and the loss of one's driver's license. And most importantly, it can also take away innocent people's lives. Are you curious to hear about the other problematic men in the UFC? Many fighters have faced allegations of domestic violence in the world of MMA. These allegations can have serious consequences for the people involved, as well as for the sport as a whole. In 2012, American MMA fighter Jon Jones was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence and leaving the scene of an accident. The 35-year-old was also arrested on charges of battery for allegedly hitting a waitress in New Mexico in 2015. And some years ago, he was arrested for allegedly violating his probation in a hit-and-run accident from 2015. Jones has faced additional accusations of domestic violence and abuse. But those allegations have not resulted in criminal charges. Next on the list of controversial MMA fighters is Thiago Santos. The mixed martial artist was arrested in Brazil on suspicion of domestic violence and illegal possession of firearms in 2019. According to news reports, the 39-year-old was accused of physically assaulting his ex-girlfriend and holding her against her will. Santos was later released from custody, and the charges were dropped due to the lack of evidence. Former UFC fighter Greg Hardy was arrested with domestic violence charges against his ex-girlfriend in 2014. He was free to go after some time, but the conviction was later overturned on appeal. Hardy has also faced criticism for his past behavior, but he has continued to compete in the UFC. UFC champ Tyron Woodley was arrested on suspicion of domestic violence in 2021. He was accused of physically assaulting his girlfriend and damaging her property. The case is still pending, and Woodley has maintained his innocence. With all these reports of abuse allegations, do you wonder how the UFC heads are reacting to all this? There was backlash against the UFC for allowing fighters despite multiple charges. While the UFC has a zero-tolerance policy for domestic violence and has taken steps to educate its fighters and staff about the issue, regardless, some UFC fighters have faced criticism for continuing to compete even after being accused of domestic violence. In some cases, the UFC has faced pressure to take action against fighters who have been accused of domestic violence and to adopt stronger policies to prevent and address the issue. Of course, any allegations of domestic violence should be taken seriously and thoroughly investigated, and those who are found guilty should be held accountable for their actions. In order to address the issue of domestic violence in UFC, it's important for the organization to take a responsible approach. This can include educating fighters and staff about the issue, and working with law enforcement and victim advocacy groups to provide support and resources for those affected by domestic violence, as well as implementing strong policies to prevent and address domestic violence. But shockingly, an unapologetic statement from UFC's president shows how lightly he takes these allegations. Dana White said he doesn't expect punishment for domestic violence allegations. A video of White involved in a physical argument with his wife revolved around social media in January 2023. When asked if the 53-year-old expects there to be any consequences from the organization, White responded, "What should the repercussions be? You tell me. I take 30 days off? How does that hurt me?" In his opinion, White's suspension would hurt the company, his employees, and the fighters. "It won't hurt him at all," he said. The Connecticut native has confessed to his crimes and said now he will be labeled as an abuser, and that, for him, is punishment enough for what he did. The video was posted by TMZ. In the clip, Dana and his wife Ann can be seen fighting and arguing before exchanging slaps in a Mexico nightclub on New Year's night. But neither he nor his partner is facing any legal charges over the incident. He said that nobody was happy about what happened. White also said he's not looking to make excuses for his behavior and repeated his stance on domestic abuse. He stated that there's no defense for these actions and that people should not be defending him over this thing. At least he understands the gravity of his actions. But despite these challenges, MMA fighters like McGregor continue to be recognizable figures in sports today, although the controversies put them in media attention now and then. But that's also short-lived. We'll see you in the next video.